Now I'm going to do some practice problems. These are the sorts of problems that you should expect to be able to see on the test. X to the 4th power times x to the 7th power. I have here powers multiplied. I remember from before that when I have powers multiplied, then I end up adding the exponents. So that's going to equal to x, both bases are x, 4 plus 7. 4 plus 7 is 11. X to the 4th times x to the 7th is x to the 11th. I added the exponents. Here I have two different powers with the same base divided. When I divide powers, I subtract the exponents. So this is going to equal x to the power of, and I'm going to subtract the exponents, 9 minus 5. 9 minus 5 is 4, so my exponent is 4, x to the 4th power. Here I have powers of powers. In the situation where I have powers of powers, this is y to the 4th power to the 3rd power. The rule is that I multiply these powers. So this is going to be y to the 4 times 3, which is 12. Let's do some more difficult ones. These sometimes get difficult for students when we introduce zero or negative exponents. Let's look at this first problem here. X to the negative 2nd power times x to the 5th power. This is just a multiplying powers problem. I can use the same rule that I did with multiplying powers, and that rule is add the exponents. So I have an x, and I want to do 2 plus 5, except it's not a 2. This is a negative 2 plus 5. So instead of getting a 7, negative 2 plus 5 is 3. Here, I'm going to follow the exact same rules I did before. It's again 2 powers multiplied, which means I can add the exponents. So I have an x. Negative 2 plus positive 2 is 0. I can simplify that further. X to the 0th power is 1. I have a third problem where I am multiplying powers. Again, when you multiply powers, you simply add the exponents. Negative 8 plus positive 5 is negative 3. Since I now have a negative exponent for my answer, I can take that one step further and say 1 over x to the 3rd power, and I have written it as a fraction with a positive exponent. Now I have 3 problems where I am dividing powers. If you remember before, you divide powers simply by subtracting the exponent. Subtracting the exponent is going to work in all of these cases. Now remember, I'm going to take the exponent on the top power and subtract the exponent on the bottom power. So that's going to be x to the 4 minus 6, which is negative 2. Because 4 is smaller than 6, I ended up with a negative in my exponent. Well, I'm going to just simplify that further and say x to the negative 2 is the same thing as x to the 2, or x to the 2nd power, or x squared. On this problem, I am dividing powers. So I will subtract my exponent. 4 minus 4 is 0. I can simplify that further and just say that it's 1. Last problem. X to the 4th power divided by x to the negative 6th power. I am dividing powers. I can subtract the exponents. So I get x to the 4 minus negative 6. I'm actually going to write that. 4 minus negative 6. You may remember from when you studied integers that whenever I subtract a negative number, that's the same thing as adding the positive version of that number. So 4 minus negative 6 is actually 10. So I have x to the 10th power.